Hi everyone, this is Mateusz. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to take a look at the Formex Field watch second generation, but not only that. We will also talk about what makes microbrand different from the traditional watch brand and why Formex is such a unique case sitting right in between. And at the end I will tell you why this might not be the perfect choice for the first watch. So let's dive in. When someone gets deeper into a hobby, the first instinct is always the same. Learn the language, the terms, the concepts, the jargon, so you can move around freely in that new world. And when it comes to watches, this is one of the toughest hobbies to enter. The technical side alone is already complicated, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Once you add the layers of history built over centuries, the positioning of brands, the prestige hierarchy, the complex relationships between them, it all becomes a giant maze, one that's easy to get lost in. And then you find out something else. That watches can come from very different kinds of brands. There are the giants that belong to groups, there are independents, small indie houses, and of course, there are microbrands. And even that's not the full picture. The categories keep dividing into more and more subcategories. But still, if you're new to watches, one particular line feels the most important. The line between microbrands and traditional watch companies. Because when you're just starting out and your budget is smaller, these are the two sides fighting for your attention and for your money. Now the definition isn't strict. You could argue about it forever. But if I had to point out three clear areas of difference, this is where I draw the line. First, production. Microbrands don't produce watches themselves. Usually, they're small teams handling design, marketing, and sales. The actual manufacturing, assembly, adjustment, and servicing is outsourced. That's why, strictly speaking, calling them watch manufacturers isn't accurate. Traditional watchmakers, on the other hand, usually have larger teams and facilities. They take care of at least some of the production themselves. Second, brand identity. With microbrands, you often see the faces behind the name. You meet them at trade shows, you talk to them online, you follow their personal stories. There's a direct human link between the creator and the product. Traditional brands build identity in a very different way, through heritage, if they have it, through history, and more than anything else, through marketing. The brand becomes an institution, a stable, trustworthy entity. And the people behind it almost disappear, so much so that most big brands won't even list a customer support email. Communication flows through boutiques, through PR agencies, or through the sales staff on the ground. It's professional, polished, template-driven, and it costs money to keep that system running. Meanwhile, with microbrands, the owners themselves often handle the communication. They're the ones at the booths, answering questions in forums, building the narrative directly. That's a fundamental difference. Third, how they communicate value. Buying a watch from a traditional brand, you're buying more than a watch. You're paying for the marketing, for the boutiques, for the after-sales service, for the logo on the dial, the ambassadors, the image of people who wear it. That image becomes part of what you're buying. And that's why microbrands usually offer more for the money. They can't win on marketing. So the product itself has to do the talking. Not the logo, not the billboard, not the celebrity, just the watch. That's why microbrands rely so much on influencers, YouTube, Instagram. They want you to see the details, the finishing, the unusual materials, the bold designs that bigger brands would never dare to try. Of course, like with any rule, there are exceptions, and one of the most interesting exceptions is Formex. On paper, they're a traditional Swiss manufacturer with real production capability, but they don't have that global logo recognition. They're run by real people you can actually see, and their watches are their marketing. So yes, technically they're a full-fledged manufacturer, but their mindset is pure microbrand, the best of both worlds. When you buy a Formex, you get Swiss-made production at a microbrand price. That's a rare combination. and it makes their watches some of the most attractive propositions on the market today. It's also worth knowing, many in the community still treat Formex as a microbrand. But no, these aren't watches assembled in China with a logo stamped on. They are designed, produced, and finished in Switzerland by a company that does the work. For many collectors, that detail matters. I've shown you a Formex before, the Reef Diver, but this time I have something different. The brand's most affordable watch, and at the same time the one that speaks to me the most. Because I really believe the cheapest watch in a lineup often tells you the most about the brand. And in the case of the Field, that statement is true. This is one of the most compelling watches in its price bracket, and it perfectly expresses what Formex stands for. Let's start with the case. What makes it stand out is the Grade 2 titanium, fully matte, with that dark grey tool-like look, which is perfect for a Field watch. But this grade of titanium has one big drawback. It scratches easily. Luckily, this issue has been solved. The surface has been hardened to around 900 Vickers. That's almost 6 times harder than untreated titanium and nearly 4 times harder than standard 316L steel. There is also other benefit of choosing titanium here. This watch weighs just over 50 grams. On the wrist, it's almost weightless, exactly what a Field watch should be. But here's the catch. Because of that lightweight feel and the matte finish, some people say it feels toy-like, too light, not substantial enough. And I get where that comes from, especially if your reference point is a G-Shock or an Apple Watch. When you buy your first real watch, you expect weight. You want to feel where your money went, you want wrist presence. And the Formex Field doesn't give you that. It's the complete opposite, which is why I think it's not necessarily for beginners. It's for people who already know a bit more, who can appreciate it. It's like wearing a white gold watch. To outsiders, it just looks like steel, but you know it's gold. That's the appeal. Some may think it's a toy watch, but you know it's not, and you feel good about it. It's for you, not for them. I wore it for my entire summer trip without taking anything else. That's something I always do on vacations. Bring just one watch to really get to know it. And usually when I come back, I don't feel like wearing it anymore. I need a break, but this time it was different. After the first day or two, when I felt a little tired of it, the watch somehow grew on me. It became part of my wrist, and I found myself enjoying every single glance at it. And I don't mean the kind of forgetting it's there, like when you wear a simple Casio and it just disappears. No, I actually looked at it more often than just to check the time. Not once did I regret not taking something else with me. And even after coming back home, I didn't want to take it off. For me, that's probably the best possible review. When it comes to size, this is another watch that feels close to ideal. I have a small wrist, but the magic of their ergonomics is that if you wore it without knowing the specs, you wouldn't be able to guess. If someone told me it was 42 millimeters, I'd believe it. If they said 38, I'd believe that too. It wears like a smaller watch but looks like a larger one. On paper, the specs are 40 millimeters in diameter, 11 thick, 48 lug to lug with 20 millimeter lugs. But visually, it looks bigger. The lugs are long, the strap cutouts are small, so the watch has more presence than the numbers suggest. Maybe if we measured the total surface area, we'd have a clear answer whether it's truly bigger than other 40 millimeter watches, or is it just my imagination? But I won't go that far. Let's just say it works. Ergonomically, this is a versatile watch suitable for a wide range of wrists, with mine 16.5 centimeters being close to the lower end. Inside Telita SW200 in standard spec. That means no declared accuracy, no extra resistance to magnetism, no chronometer certification, and of course, no decoration. Neither a weakness nor a selling point, just right. One real advantage though, water resistance. It's rated to 150 meters, 50% more than the usual 100 in this category. And they managed it without adding thickness. Of course, No one's going to use those extra 50 meters, but in this hobby, numbers matter, even when they don't. As for the dial, the Field comes in several colors. Mine was basalt gray, and in person it's lighter than in the press shots, with a metallic sheen. At first I thought it clashed with the matte case, but over time I grew to appreciate it. Now I think it balances the design nicely. I also had doubts about the hands. Brushed finishing on hands can look cheap if it's not done right, even on premium watches. Here it's not outstanding, but it works. With this dial, it just looks good. Now, some criticism. The lume. Everyone praises it, and yes, it's strong and plentiful with a semi-sandwich dial that looks great. But in the middle of the night, the thin lume on the hands fades against the brightness of the indices. It's not unreadable, but it's not perfect either. For me, it's a small flaw, even though I wouldn't want larger hands or smaller indices. Just one of those little compromises. And then there are those elements at 12 and 6 o'clock on the case. What are they for? They look like links of a bracelet, but this watch doesn't come with one. Maybe there will be a bracelet in the future, and that would be fantastic. In that style, it could give the watch a bit of an Octo Finissimo vibe. But right now, without it, those details just look odd. To me, that's the biggest downside. And that's it for today's review. I don't think a long summary is needed. I've already made my opinion clear. It's simple. This is a fantastic watch. One of the most interesting pieces in its price category. Well done, Formex. You really nailed it. And to you guys, thank you for watching and see you next time.